nimattena swadharmena mahisya kriya yogena shastena na atimarasena nityasya. Synonym: nishivatena, executed, nimattena, without attachment to the result. So dharmena, by one's prescribed duty. Mahiyas, glorious. Kriya yogena, by devotional activities. Shastena, auspicious. Na, without. Atimrashena, excessive violence. Nityasha, regularly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ji Jai. A devotee must execute his prescribed duties, which are glorious, without material profit, without excessive violence. One should regularly perform one's devotional activities. Purport: one has to execute his prescribed duties according to his social position as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. The prescribed duties of the four classes of men in human society are described in Bhagavad Gita. The activities of Brahmanas are to control the senses and to become simple, clean, learned devotees. The Kshatriyas have the spirit for ruling. They are not afraid on the battlefield. And they are charitable. The Vaishyas, or the mercantile class of men, trade in commodities, protect cows, and develop agriculture produce. The Shudras, or laborer class, serve the higher classes because they themselves are not very intelligent. From every position, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Swakarmana tam abhyaracha. One can serve the Supreme Lord by performing one's prescribed duty. It is not that only the Brahmanas can serve the Supreme Lord and not the Shudras. Anyone can serve the Supreme Lord by performing his prescribed duties under the direction of a spiritual master or representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one should think that his prescribed duties are inferior. A Brahmana can serve the Lord by using his intelligence, and the Kshatriya can serve the Supreme Lord by using his military arts, just as Arjun served Krishna. Arjun was a warrior. He had no time to study Vedanta or other highly intellectual books. The damsels in Brajadham were girls born of the Vaishya class, and they engaged in protecting cows and producing agriculture. Krishna's foster father, Nanda Maharaj, and his associates were all Vaishyas. They were not at all educated, but they could serve Krishna by loving him and by offering everything to him. Similarly, there are many instances in which Chandalas, or those lower than Shudras, have served Krishna. Also, the sage Vidur was considered a Shudra because his mother happened to be a Shudra. There are no distinctions For it is declared by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita that anyone engaged specifically in devotional service is elevated to the transcendental position without a doubt. Everyone's prescribed duty is glorious if it is performed in the devotional service of the Lord without desire for profit. Such loving service must be performed without reason, without impediment, and spontaneously. Krishna is lovable, and one has to serve him in whatever capacity one can. That is pure devotion service. Another significant phrase in this verse is na atimrashena, with minimum violence or sacrifice of life. Even if a devotee has to commit violence, it should not be done beyond what is necessary. Sometimes the question is put before us. You ask us not to eat meat, but you are eating vegetables. Do you think that is not violence? The answer is that eating vegetables is violence. And vegetarians are also committing violence against other living entities because vegetables also have life. Non-devotees are killing cows, goats, and so many other animals for eating purposes. And a devotee who is vegetarian is also killing. But here, significantly, it is stated that every living entity has to live by killing another entity. That is law of nature. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One living entity is the life for another living entity. But for a human being, that violence should be committed only as much as necessary. A human being is not to eat anything which is not offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yagya Shishta Shina Santa. One becomes freed from all sinful reactions by eating foodstuffs which are offered to Yagya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee therefore eats only prasad or foodstuffs offered to the Supreme Lord. And Krishna says that when a devotee offers him foodstuffs from the vegetable kingdom, with devotion, he eats that. A devotee is to offer to Krishna foodstuffs prepared from vegetables. If the Supreme Lord wanted foodstuffs prepared from animal food, the devotee could offer this. But he does not order to do that. We have to commit violence, that is natural law. We should not, however, commit violence extravagantly, but only as much as ordered by the Lord. Arjun engaged in the art of killing. And although killing is, of course, violence, he killed the enemy simply on Krishna's order. In the same way, if we commit violence as it is necessary by the order of the Lord, that is called Natimisha. We cannot avoid violence, for we are put into a conditional life in which we have to commit violence. But we should not commit more violence than necessary or than ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnanatimranasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Tam Srivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijana Sangitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namostute तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु च पतितनं पवनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा. Um, so we're discussing this wonderful discussion between Lord Kapila and Mother Devahuti. Lord Kapila is giving very in-depth instructions to Mother Devahuti, explaining the devotional services. In the last few verses, we have seen Lord Kapila explains devotional services in three different modes. Devotional services in the mode of, or you can say bhakti to make it easier. Bhakti in the mode of ignorance, bhakti in the mode of passion, and bhakti in the mode of goodness. So when I personally heard this, I was very, it was kind of strange to me. Because generally we feel that when we start doing bhakti, then we kind of automatically, something like autopilot, that this chanting and sacrificing and japa tapa, charity, by doing that, we will automatically be in mode of goodness or even higher. So what's the reason, what's the point of talking about ignorance and passion? We should only talk about goodness and transcendence. So bhakti is, to me, it was like a synonym for transcendence. Bhakti means you're in transcendence. But as we read more and go deeper into the teaching, especially here by Lord Kapila, Lord Devhuti, it's making more sense, and it's also clarifying many doubts, because that's one of the reason I personally have committed some offenses against the Vaishnavas, and because we take it for granted that, hey, there's so many devotees around, and how come they get angry? How come they have some agenda behind what they're trying to do? They, we assume that they all should be in mode of goodness or even better. higher. Krishna consciousness is in the mode of transcendence, beyond three modes. This is how, at least, my mind was trained. And then when we find other devotees not in that mode of goodness or transcendence, then we commit offenses. We judge, we criticize. But here, in last few verses I was reading, very beautifully Lord Kapila explains that living entity in this conditional state can perform bhakti devotional service in three modes. And then I remember reading some, I think it will come in Canto 4, Daksha Prajapati, Dhruv Maharaj pastimes, and there it will be more practical examples of how Daksha Prajapati is a devotee. His Prajapati is given the task of creating all of us living entities by Lord Brahmaji. He's Prajapati, very, very exalted post, big responsibility. But it will be explained later that his devotional service to Lord Brahmaji to Lord Vishnu was somewhat in mode of ignorance. That's why he would get angry to Lord Shiva and to his own daughter, Mother Sati. And then Dhruv Maharaj example will also be given, that how his bhakti was in mode of passion because he was looking for kingdom greater than his grandfathers. And then mode of goodness bhakti, many examples. One was given, the Prithu Maharaj. So that discussion starts here by Lord Kapila of these three kind of, or bhakti in three modes. Bhakti itself is transcendence, but the performer of the bhakti, what's his mood? So his mood can be in three mood of this ignorance, passion, and goodness. So that one message coming from the last few verses. But here in verse 15, it's more about the prescribed duties are glorious. And without excessive violence. That's the key, some key word here is without excessive violence. Ati mrishena. Without excessive violence. I remember hearing one lecture in the battlefield of Kurukshetra also. Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport also how Arjuna was dealing with fighting as a Kshatriya, his prescribed duty, his fighting in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But how they were very careful without excessive violence. Battle was happened, millions of people were killed. But only those who came into the battlefield, not any innocent, not any women especially, not any children were killed. But now we see here this war in Ukraine or war in Israel and Hamas. Thousands and thousands and thousands of women and children are also killed. Old people are also killed. That's ati mrishena, excessive violence. They might say that, well, that's my Kshatriya duty to protect my borders and kingdom and states, and yes, that's true, but not with ati machine, not with excessive violence. Like when Lord Ram killed Bali, just killed Bali with one arrow. Not his family member, not his children, not his wife, not his army, none of that. So that's na atimrshena. So that's on the physical level, gross level, but also on a subtle level, hmm, um, um, either dealing with our children or our subordinates, either in management or at home or in the office. Yes, we might have to deal with things that include some harsh steps, harsh behavior, tough stance, taking a tough step to implement something, but not with atimarshena, not with too much violence. That's part of the prescribed duty. The point here is that's prescribed duty. And I was meditating because last night we were celebrating Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance day. How Prahlad Maharaj, he was very careful about this excessive violence. His father was being killed right in front of his eyes, and he was killed. And Lord Nrsimhadev is asking Prahlad Maharaj, after this killing of Nrsimhadev, no, sorry, killing of Hiranyakashipu, Nrsimhadev is very upset, very, very angry, and all these very high posted demigods, including Lord Brahmaji, they come and they try to pacify Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Nrsimhadev is not getting pacified, and then Lord Brahmaji asked Prahlad Maharaj, he said, please, you go. You're a pure devotee of the Lord. You go and pacify the Lord. So Prahlad Maharaj move forwards, take step without having any fear, because his love for Lord Vishnu was very deep. And it's explained Lord Nrsimhadev put his hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that as soon as Lord Nrsimhadev puts his hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head, Prahlad Maharaj, whatever little material contamination was there, Prahlad Maharaj was already a pure devotee. But whatever little was there, it was all gone. And Prahlad Maharaj became pacified. But not only that, Prabhupada writes that Lord Nrsimhadev also immediately became pacified. So this two-way communication in between the Lord and the devotee and the devotee and the Lord, we saw that happening. And then Prahlad Maharaj chants these wonderful, wonderful prayers to glorify Lord Nrsimhadev. Obviously, he's now so much, he was already empowered in the womb of his mother, but now he's supremely more powered because he's touched by the hands of Lord Nrsimhadev. Because of that empowerment, he's chanting these verses. And then, after these prayers, Lord Nrsimhadev asked Prahlad, you have performed your prescribed duties. In that devotional service, you suffered a lot for me. Therefore, I want you to have boons. Ask me anything. And Prahlad Maharaj gets a little bit upset. He said, Lord, you are asking me to become a businessman. That if servant performs some devotional, some seva for the master, and then master should give something. And if master gives something to the servant, and then master take advantage of that servant, Prahlad Maharaj said, that's a business deal. I'm not a businessman. I'm your servant. You're my master, life after life. But now, one thing very beautiful here, you all heard, but when I was reading that Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsimhadev is pushing Prahlad Maharaj. No, no, no. You still ask for something. Prahlad Maharaj said, please, Lord Nrsimhadev, please make sure all my material attachments are gone. And then he remembered his prescribed duty. As a son, he has a prescribed duty to deliver his father. So he immediately said, Lord Nrsimhadev, if you really want to give me something, I know my father has demoniac. He was in the demon, he was the king of the demons. He performed so many demoniac activities. But please, I still love him because I love him and you love me. Please liberate him. When I was reading about the prescribed duty in the mode of goodness, in the mode of transcendence, that bhakti, Prahlad Maharaj is an epitome of that quality from this verse also. He did not want that excessive violence. I'm trying to connect Prahlad Maharaj's mood with this na ati mrishena, not excessive violence. See, excessive violence in this case would be Prahlad Maharaj would have said, this, my father who has given me and you and your devotees, thousands of those, and so many problems, and he criticized, he blasphemed, he killed. Let him burn in hellish planets sometime, for many years, and then, if you desire so, that would be excessive violence on the part of Shri Prahlad. But because he remembered his prescribed duty of son is to be part of the journey of his father and help father to get liberate from this material contaminated world. He's very particular at this particular time when Lord Nrsimhadev, who just appeared for Prahlad Maharaj. So one devotee was mentioning beautifully, he said, this one incarnation for one person, one incarnation of Lord Vishnu in the form of Lord Nrsimhadev, just for one person, Prahlad Maharaj, how dear Prahlad Maharaj was to Lord Nrsimhadev. But even in the midst of that, amazing scene we see here, the discussion, the conversation that's happening in between Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsimhadev, he is remembering his prescribed duty of delivering his father. And he's seeing that that's a proper offering to Lord Nrsimhadev and all the demigods. So we can say a few, but it's getting late. 7 o'clock. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Rashtrakuta ki jai.
Thank you very much, Disciple. We'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead. And we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Nrsimha, Jai Nrsimha, Jai Nrsimha, Praladesha, Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa, Mugravira Mahanantam Sarvatomukam, Nrsimham Vishanam Badram Mityu Namiham. Nrsimha Bhagwan ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. I hope all of you enjoyed yesterday. Nrsimha Chaturdasi. Thank you all for nicely participating and performing wonderful services for the pleasure of Lord Nrsimhadev. I was just hearing something on Nrsimha Chaturdasi about this fasting till dusk. So we hear about Lord Nrsimhadev fasting till dusk because Lord appeared at dusk, but it's mentioned that the Lord appeared before dusk. Dusk was a time when he killed Hiranyakashipu. There was some time went by when there was a fight between Hiranyakashipu and Lord Nrsimhadev. So it's a celebration of killing of Hiranyakashipu. That's why it's fasting till dusk. Nice point. Well, Radha Gopinath Prabhu is bringing. Yeah. Okay. On that note, I'd like to offer a humble obeisances to all the assembled devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam pavanebhayo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnavinda ki jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Gaur Premanande
Hari.
Thank you, Devkinandan.
Thank you, everybody. Hari Bol.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Wonderful program yesterday. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Hari Bol.